for me, writing is one of my greatest passion and also my greatest hobby. I actually started to write not about lighting. All the freedom that you take when you write about your own emotions or your own fantasy stories cannot be there when you want to transfer something that you've been experienced or something that you would like people to experience as well, or like something that you would like to research. Same is like when you write like academic paper. That's so hard to put everything together, everything you would like to say, everything you would like the other people to know, to be compressed, and it's like, okay, this is the message I want to convey. I think it's an amazing and fantastic exercise. At the end, the rule is very simple. No? If you are able to explain something to what you're doing to someone else, then it means that you're really mastering what you're doing.
Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Lighting Design Community Podcast, and today we have an exciting installment of our Lighting Heroes series. In this episode, we are thrilled to bring to light Martina Frattura, an esteemed lighting designer and researcher from Italy. Martina hailed as a lighting hero and currently holding the esteemed title of Lighting Hero number 5 on David Gilbey's renowned list, is truly a rising star in the industry. Her accomplishments include being honored as one of the class of 2020 40 under 40 recognized lighting designers, solidifying her position amongst the brightest and most promising talents in the field. But it is Martina's extraordinary extracurricular activities that truly elevate her to hero status. As an advocate of beauty in lighting, design, and life, Martina's groundbreaking research delves into the understanding of universal beauty and attraction, exploring the neuroscience, psychology, and personality of beauty in all its forms. Her work helps us strive for the pursuit of universal perfection in design. Beyond her research and design expertise, Martina is a devoted supporter of women in lighting, actively contributing to raw blogs and empowering fellow professionals. She also promotes mental well-being and prevents burnout in the design community through her involvement in Designer's Mind. Before we dive into our conversation with Martina, we'd love to give a special shout out to our premium supporters, Aero Light, Creative Lighting Asia, ERCO, and the Signified Lighting Academy. Your support is greatly appreciated. And for those who would like a visual experience, the recorded video interview with Martina Frattura is available on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to check that out. Also, we invite all lighting enthusiasts to join our vibrant online community at www.vld.community. Connect with like-minded individuals, share your passion for lighting, and stay updated with the latest trends and discussions in the industry. Join us and be part of a thriving lighting design community. So without further ado, let's get on with the show and hear from the incredible Martina Frattura.
Martina Frattura, welcome to Lighting Heroes. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me here. This is a huge pleasure and honor, most of all.
So here you are, and you were selected as one of the Lighting Heroes on David Gilbey's posts. And now, as VLDC, we have decided to pick that up and go in depth with the Lighting Heroes that he has been selecting. And you're on that list, one of the early ones on the list. And so let's go into it. Maybe we can start with a little introduction. Who is Martina? Where do you come from? Where do you live? And what you do in your daily life at the moment?
Absolutely, with a great pleasure. And this is one of the most complicated questions to answer right now is where I live, because I'm Italian and grew up in the center of Italy by the Adriatic, though. That was quite important for my future work. And as a lighting designer, as I've been always very inspired by sunrise, even more than sunset, because I had the chance to look at it like coming up from the sea, from the Black Sea at night. I've been spending the last 4 years of my life in Portugal, where I currently I am based, but I'm always like going to and fro Italy and Portugal lately. So I would say I'm half Portuguese, half Italian at the moment.
You speak Portuguese?
Well, like I speak Portuguese. I wish I could speak even better. So I'm training myself even more about that.
Yeah.
And somehow I think like it's for sure is the place where I spend the longest out of my home country. So
Okay.
that's why I think I feel more Portuguese than
Okay.
than other nationalities. But
Now
for sure,
let's sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
for sure, a piece of my heart is there.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's start at the beginning because I understand you went to KTH to study lighting design. Had you been sort of in touch with lighting before that? What made you do make that choice and go to KTH?
Absolutely. Actually, I got to KTH quite later in my academic years. The first approach I had with lighting was during my bachelor in Milan. I studied interior design, and I had the blessing to meet a person that now is not with us any longer. Is Professor Bonomo. We were supposed to have a 3 months module together with many others during my bachelor, and that got me right away. I even remember that, like, I remember most of the his thoughts. They're still like in my memory. They're still the way I approach the lighting nowadays. It got me so much into the topic that I started to be very intrigued also, like how to continue studying not just interior design, but to have more specifically directed to lighting. But I didn't go right away to KTH. I started to actually put that in practice, and that started as a chance, let's say, because my first internship during my bachelor, it was an architecture studio, but they got me into like start to sketches luminaires, because
Ah,
that studio used to work with one of the greatest Italian Latin design manufacturers. So
okay.
there was already one. It was a different aspect from the architectural Latin design course that I did, but it was still very interesting.
Hmm.
So then I moved back to Milan where I was doing my bachelor, and I started to work for an electrotechnical company. And because I wanted to understand even more what was behind it, and that was surely one of the greatest experience I had so far as well. And then again, I changed to be an assistant of a light artist in the Netherlands, because I thought that I wanted also to explore the wow effect of lighting, as it was like the, the thing that it was catching me the most. It was you can change so many hats by still working with lighting,
Yes.
and but you could wake up one day and do a specific job, and then wake up the next day a different thing, but still working with lighting. So I wanted to explore all of them. And after our almost 2 years of practicing in this different spaces, I decided to join KTH. I got selected, and I was also very lucky to be one of the last to be able to do the 2 years program. So
Right.
that time it was architecture, lighting design, and health.
Right.
And
Is it not 2 years anymore?
no, it's 1 year. It's one
Okay.
year only since like when I graduated. That was for me, although the best, because we also had an extended thesis time, like allocated in the calendar, and that helped me to go with an exchange program to TUI, where I
Hmm.
started my research with psychology about lighting.
Yeah, yeah, I read that. So I noticed that you at KTH you sort of majored in architectural lighting design and health,
Yeah.
right? So is that an additional part that you can add to your study, or is that integral to the whole study in itself?
So let's say that the specific time they were the 2 years program had the daylight program in addition. So something that you would have done like the first year, the same for everyone, and then you could have done a day life program, and then you had an extended time for the thesis. But of course, the whole program of KTH still is. It expands also into it touches the non-visual aspects of lighting,
Right.
and to me that was exactly my cup of tea.
Yeah. So then you understand that you went to Eindhoven to do this research. What attracted you to do that research?
So I when I got there, I was actually attracted by Professor von der Court. I read her work about her work, and I was really intrigued by the fact that she is a psychologist, an environmental psychologist working with lighting and teaching about light. And we had a student from Eindhoven in the class there. So I was lucky enough to be able to have a direct, exchange of thoughts with my colleague. And she confirmed everything I thought about her university back in Eindhoven, and I decided to join them. When I was there, I first had I was hosted by the Human Technology Interaction Department, and so after exploring a bit of what they were doing, the topic came quite natural, and I think that was about the extent their work was going to. So in my case, how to induce shared experience through lighting.
Right. Okay. It's interesting how people's career develop because I don't think you really set out to do a certain direction in lighting. It sort of very often flows. You do this and then you come into touch with that. Oh, that's interesting. And you go there. And I can see that with you also, because I also noticed, I checked your website and a little write up about you, but you also co wrote a little booklet about We Are Light.
Yes.
What is that about? Is that also a direction that you feel like? Because I feel that some of the things that you're doing are very much related to that.
In a way, yes, absolutely. Especially to the title, like specifically, "We Are Light" is it's a book that celebrates the year of light. So back in at the end of already of 2015, I got in touch with what it turned to be my mentor, now one of my also my greatest friends, which is Latin designer Chiara Carucci. She asked me if I wanted to, as I was about to finish the university and starting my architectural lighting position as an assistant architectural lighting. I decided to accept the challenge of writing about all the activities that have been going through the International Year of Light. And so starting also to touch to the different people who created the event, who run the event, who've been participating to the event. And that was definitely a life-changing experience because that started to give me the idea even more of the net that is behind, and it makes the industry of lighting so stable.
Yeah.
What I've been doing, like after my bachelor, before, during, and during my master in lighting, was to create, like, say, a net myself. Through the booklet We Are Light, I realized that a net was already quite present and very strong, and
Yeah.
that was like I want to be part of it even more.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't read the book, but I would love to see it. And I
I
know
can
also.
bring it to you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Next time we meet. But I also noticed that when you write, there's something happening. I've written two books myself and currently work on my third one. But what I notice is that it makes you think about what you're going to write and what you actually feel because it's in your mind, but then you have to sort of translate it to paper, which is quite a journey in itself because you discover also the way you think about it. And I think it's a really interesting journey to actually write something because it really makes you stop and take like a step back and what is it actually that I want to say, right? And I assume that you had the same sort of experience when you co-write this kind of booklet.
Absolutely. For me, writing is one of my greatest passion and also my greatest hobbies because I actually started to write not about lighting. That's
Yeah.
how I approach it to the world of lighting myself
Okay.
first,
Okay.
and I actually published like a fictionary book like a few
Mhm.
years ago,
Mhm.
and I used to like write poetry. That's how I started. My approach to writing was like that. So it was more about uh, transfer of emotion to paper, which is as hard as just the process that you described. But
Yeah.
even when you write to something that is related to your work, that's sometimes like all the, let's say, all the freedom that you take when you write about your own emotions or your own fantasy stories. It cannot be there like when you want to transfer something that you've been experienced or something that you would like people
Yeah.
to experience as well, or like something that you would like to research. Same is like when you write like academic paper. That's so hard to put everything together, everything you would like to say, everything you would like the other people to know, to be compressed, and it's like, okay, this is the message I want to convey. I think it's an amazing and fantastic exercise. It
Yes.
helps because it's at the end the rule is very simple. No, if you are able to explain something to what you're doing to someone else, then it means that you're really like mastering what you're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
Uh,
Exactly.
so it's
You
a good
got it.
exercise.
Yeah. 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 You got it. You got it. Now, also understand that you have been busy also in the arts. You mentioned that previously. I think you did one before KTH, but afterwards also you did an art project called La Mia Paura e Bianca or something. I
That's
wrote it
an
down.
amazing pronunciation. Congratulations. Yeah, that's correct.
Where you're using light as media. What was that about?
So exactly when I came back to be an assistant of Light Space, which is the studio I was working at in the Netherlands, which is still running and is a very amazing work and a great one, and still one of the best experience I could have possibly done. I was so eager to use that as a to be using light as a way to transfer emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I was joined by a friend and a colleague, which is Eleonora Vino, and that's how we created La Mia Paura Bianca. We started very low profile, so very analogically, we wanted to create other points of light, either shadows or color out of nowhere, and we were taking pictures. But it's always been site specific somehow. We
Mm-hmm.
were like just wandering around. We dedicated like half a day to it. So we were wandering around with a bag full of material. And then choosing a site that would somehow represent what we wanted to do. We decided what we wanted to talk about with our temporary art, that we were creating the scenario, taking the picture, and leave, dismounting and leave. Then it turned and it grew bigger to actually creating temporary light installation, but before live festivals. And that was at the beginning was a challenge for us because we were not used to have a space to think about a space like weeks
Mm-hmm.
ahead, and then or having something that would have last days in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we managed to make that shift, and we were so happy about that. One of our last participation to a festival is in Rome, and that's still definitely one of the installation who gave us more uh, peace of heart. We were so happy about that.
So
Long work, long hours.
which light festival was that?
It's called Global Brightest. It's a RGB. And it's a festival that works around the suburbs of Rome, so the places where usually tourists don't go.
Okay.
And it's basically it goes from video projections to installation interactive ones. And it's been running since 2015, if I'm not wrong. It should be around almost 10 years now, and It's organized by Luce Ombre, and it evolved in many ways. They also do some spin-off during the winter, of the festival. But we participated 2 years, and the last one for us, which was 2017, for sure, it was our favorite.
Yeah. So now there's light festivals everywhere. It's sort of a trend. It started with Lyon probably, and we have Vivid in Sydney. There's the Amsterdam Light Festival, Alingzas. I think you were involved in Alingzas, weren't you?
Yes, this year.
Yeah.
I'm
So
a fresh head of this year.
that's just happened, right? Or
It
still?
just happened. We just finished our concept meeting. I'm still
Yeah.
so happy about that. Still have all
Yeah.
the feedback about that.
But the thing that they all have in common is that it's all high pressure work because there's a deadline. With architectural lighting design, you have a bit of time. I mean, yes, there are deadlines, but if you're a week over, it's not a drama. And most of the time, they're over time anyhow, not even because of you, but because of other people in the whole chain. But with light festivals or even theatrical lighting productions, there's an opening day, there's a starting day. So there's no escaping. You have to be ready. And of course, everybody is frantically working all night before the opening day, right? And so that in itself is also an interesting experience to see the limited time pressure you have with festivals or the like and architectural lighting.
Absolutely. That's definitely a big exercise to be run. My first festival was as assistant, so to light space Tamar Frank for the Amsterdam West Festival. I heard about that back then. I had heard already about Amsterdam Festival, but I never participated to it. And I still remember the first morning, 6 in the morning, us on a boat going on the side, and I was like, okay, that's how we started. And then
Yeah.
it was a few days of super hard work. I believe it's so powerful, the magic and the wow effect that I thought you could have just reached out as a spectator, as part of the audience, right, of an installation. I think you have it even more if you are the one helping doing it, because again, of all this hard work behind,
Yeah.
you're just going against the clock, and you're just thinking, okay, so I have to lit up tomorrow, and then you have everything off of place, and you're like, okay, this sounds complicated, but then you make it because you always make it, and you're, and then it's brilliant. It's lit up. Uh,
Yeah.
it's of course a bit stressful, and as you just said, yes, you have to meet the deadline. It's not possible that others are late and you're not, of course.
No, no, no.
Uh, but I think the amount of what you're possibly learning in that week, usually it's precious. It doesn't have you will take so longer in a normal process.
Yes,
Architecture,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, because you have to be also very creative to find solutions. There's always something that doesn't work, or something didn't show up, or something is missing. And how do and you learn also inter-team skills in terms of delegating who does what, and how do you work in the team, who leads the team. So the whole organizational aspect is also very meaningful. So I think somehow the focus is slightly different on these projects, because I feel the biggest pressure is really at the end. Well, in a normal architectural project, yeah, you have to commission and do a handover, but I feel that's a bit less pressure than when you're under a time constraint as light festivals and things like that. So that's a very valuable experience, and it's really nice that you have those. Now, I want to go back a little bit, because at one point of time, you would have decided that you wanted to set up a company. You set up Synapse. I don't know if
No, 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 no,
you
no.
or you joined Synapse, or what is
Exactly.
the okay. So it's a step, right, to join a company. Lead me a bit to the process of making that decision of, okay, now it's time to join or create an own firm, but in your case, to join a lighting design firm. What went through your mind? What led you to take these decisions?
Actually, the first time I joined a company was in UK. It was right after my graduation in lighting, and there
Hmm.
was PDP, Build and Design Partnership.
Hmm.
The second one was Synapse, who was now Filamento of Parreña and Joana Mendo in Lisbon. But back then, the first time, because I still have vivid memory of me wondering, should I go like for this?
Yeah.
Um, Back then, when I went for, like, I proposed myself, I answered to the call of the vacation place for the vacancy to the
Right.
LPDP in UK. I decided that that could have been one of the greatest possibilities to learn like real for real architectural lighting, to have the best scenario possible, also to put myself into such a different type of project, again with different challenges. For instance, like, yeah, you won't have to run against the clock too little, but you have all the other aspects as maintenance
Yeah.
or like energy savings, or that I was not familiar with, because, or even the site visit, which for me was very normal to do, is totally a
Yeah.
different approach. You're supposed to look at something completely different when you're on a construction site for architectural purposes and not for any temporary installations. So I think I could have not chosen, I could have not chosen better than that.
Hmm.
And again, my team and was in Manchester, so we were part of the bigger team of London. Both of the teams, Manchester and London, are just amazing. So I could learn so much from those. And the reason I left, it was because to start my own independent research. Then in the meantime, I almost I missed the architectural lighting. So when I was in Portugal for my research, I decided to join Synapse,
Ah,
and
okay. It was
and
more
I
coincidence, really. It was a sort of a
yes,
coincidence.
it
Ah,
was a
okay.
coincidence. Although that was also a very it was a big surprise to me, because no, it was not just about the size of the company, because Synapse at the time was quite small, but it was because I could see the process of growing and of having a company, because by sharing, the same work environment with Parreña, and she was like in a country that had no such a consolidated architectural lighting profession as a UK. So you could see all the difference of running a company, or having
Yeah.
working as an architectural lighting designer in UK and in Portugal. It was two completely different words, and
Wow.
that also was quite interesting to experience and to witness, because I realized how important it is to talk about lighting, but how different it is to talk about lighting when there are people that knows already what about the lighting profession, and when there are people that believes that lighting designer turn actually the
Yeah.
switches on and off.
They say in the land of the blind, one eye is king, right? So
Yes,
if you
correct.
talk to people who don't know too much about your profession, it's easy to talk about it. But when you're amongst professionals, it's a different story, obviously. Now,
100%.
I had the luck to go to Portugal a few times, and we have an office there. And by the way, Jordan says hi. He knows that I'm talking to you today. But it's a beautiful environment. But it must also have been. I don't know your personal family situation, but it's always quite an exercise if you leave your homeland and you go to another country in regards to your family, your friends. How did you manage that? How was that for you?
I was a bit of a gypsy since
Yeah.
I'm a very young one. I used to say, and I still believe that I take energy out of movement like a dynamo battery. I always see myself like this. The longer was the distance,
Yeah.
the better I would have felt. Like the more full of energy I would have
Yeah.
felt. But of course, there is a change within the time, also how you relate to transfer. And I've been living basically in 5 different countries since
Right. Yeah.
I started to go away. At least for 1 year, then usually it's around 2 years, and I would have changed it now again. As I said, it's 4 years already in Portugal, which is like, wow, that's a long. uh, Sometimes it's a challenge. I think also it's even better when you have like, for instance, especially when I was in Sweden, I could feel like the actual cultural differences, which maybe in the south of Europe you don't have them, you don't feel them right away because
Hmm.
there is, like a commonality
Hmm.
with all the, the South European countries. There is something that belongs to our way to our approaching,
Hmm.
but still the difference are there, placed there. Sometimes they get revealed after a little while.
Yeah.
I believe the difference is the most enriching part of being a human. So I try to use that as, as a source of because I believe it's the best source of learning also about your own self.
Yeah.
It's just by opening up to the others and to the other cultures and the other traditions or just other way of approaching.
Yeah.
Um, I still, that's why I think I do a bit time like to and fro all the times. I believe it's important for me also to have to keep the connection with my land and with the people that, belong to my family, to the like the closest one. And
But that's
it's
your lighting family. You're referring to your lighting family there, right?
both, yeah,
Right.
both lighting and both like actual my own. I think traveling is really part of my big, like that's the way I approach to the world, like in general. I like to move. I like to be living in different places at the same time. Basically, I like to be challenged in being alone in a space that I don't know. I like this type of approach, and I think that working with light helps that because
Yeah.
again, having the possibility of changing hats, but
Mhm.
still not losing what you feel makes you happy. That's that's precious.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and but I always felt. See, I left Holland to go to Singapore, so called on a 2 year, posting. But I ended up 10 years in Singapore, and then I went to Australia, and then came back, and in fact, I still have my office in Singapore. So it's hard to predict how things are. But the most challenging part of all that was my personal family side because I had my lighting family, people that I know in the lighting industry, and you know them in different countries, and but it's not the same because the family that goes with you, and in this case, my wife and kids, they are suddenly in a totally new environment, and that's they don't have the same lighting family that you have. So that's the challenging part I was talking about. Like I also like traveling. I used to travel a lot, as you know, but managing that part is sometimes one of the most challenging parts of what we do, So that's why I was asking.
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah. Now,
absolutely.
um, you are now quite involved in many things. You're also doing women in lighting, I believe, right?
Yes.
What is it for you that now this whole social inclusion becomes so important? It wasn't like that many years ago, and the movement that was started, I think, has really revolutionized our lighting industry. How do you see that from your perspective?
I was what I would say one of those people who and I'm being very honest here, who thought there was not an issue at the beginning,
Mm.
because I think I'd just been very lucky enough
Yeah.
until a certain point to
Yeah.
not being exposed to certain type of prejudice or complications. I think that just when I put myself into the position to stop and reflect and just looking around, it's not just me, but others people experiences, then I realize how important and how fundamental was to have a moment like this one. I
Mm.
believe in the community. We were talking about this since the beginning of our conversation. So to have an even bigger one, but that has a specific level on inclusion on top of it, I I learned how like to see the actual not just value but how
Yes.
mandatory it was to have something like this. And again, I still remember vividly one conversation I had with the Italian ambassador of Women in Latin, Giorgio Bussemini. uh, once asked her if she really thought that, or she felt like sometimes, under some sort of pressure or specific to the gender, related to the gender. She
Yeah.
looked at me asking, really? Because you never did? Like,
Yeah.
no, I thought I'm lucky enough not to. She was like, well, stop and think about everything you've seen, because sometimes you think it's normal when it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
to have this high opening experiences, and to have the possibility of having it recognized already, that's precious. And um, again, a community that has this inclusion as an objective, it is important. It is fundamental. And again, light in itself is so inclusive per se, because
Mm.
once again, you can work with lighting in so many different ways, that it
Mm.
was a bit hard to believe that there was a segregation within it.
Yeah. 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 Now, I wanted to ask also a bit more of a loaded question, maybe. We all need to survive. We a lot of us do lighting as a passion, but that doesn't necessarily always bring the money in to survive. So one of the questions I also would like to understand from you is, how do you survive? What is your main? Of course, you have your projects and maybe your research projects, your participations, but in the end, also because you travel, you go different countries, you have projects, maybe different applications. We all have successes, but also failures with projects sometimes. We have clients that start something and then say, no, sorry, we are stopping this project. Tell me a bit about how that goes with you.
Absolutely. And this question is quite important at this stage of my life, because I recently finished an experience with the second office I was working at, the second company I
Mm.
was working at in Portugal. And the reason why I finished is because I wanted to focus more to the open think tank I recently created, which is called the Beauty Movement. At the moment, if you ask me if I can live out of that, no. That's at the
Yeah.
moment a big no. But it's growing. It's growing in the direction that it's a combination of science, philosophy, art, architecture, and design that collide in one word, which is beauty, and even more the aesthetic experience. And we are trying to, at least myself, I can speak for myself. What I'm trying to do is take all the knowledge of the people that are included in the movement and try to form myself even more. Um, I I believe that, to me, even if there are maybe safer ways to let's say survive with lighting,
Yeah.
and maybe at the moment I would say, at least what I could see from my experience, that an office, a company, a firm might be like, it's of course challenging at the same time, but for instance, compared to an artist solution that you would go within, festivals. So you go searching for festivals or for opportunities like those.
Yeah.
Same for research. You are just like attached. You have to go for a university. You have to look for funds, and then you have to produce just paper for it. It's always a running towards something that will provide you stability for a little while. Well, I believe the combination of those, if you're lucky enough to do it, is what it makes you safer. And to me, the think tank, the beauty movement, is helping me with this. It's helping me to have the possibility to form myself in more than one direction, to be able to respond to different requests or situation that happen, the happening on the way.
I think that's a very wise statement. I found out the hard way as well, because in my early days, I was purely working in Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia, but it's a very, very small area. And when the economy crashed in '97, I was totally taken by surprise and I had nowhere to go because the whole region was affected. Today, I work in China, Australia, in Europe, it's like spread over the world. Plus, I've got many different other hobbies, lighting hobbies that
Yes.
I'm busy with. But that sort of spreads the risk also, and makes you feel a bit more at ease in our industry.
Yes.
But still, I can see that the positive outlook and passion is something that drives you and that keeps you doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Am I right that that's you? What drives you to come out of bed every morning?
Absolutely. I think it's I once was asked if I could separate myself from not really my work, because again, once I said like what is my work is like an architectural project, is a light artist,
Mm,
is a research. But if I could separate myself from lighting,
yeah,
my answer was no.
yeah,
It's not just like it's. I think it's two ways thing,
yeah,
and that's maybe I would say the beauty,
yeah,
because as I just said, very affectionate to this word, but I think that's the most precious thing. So
mm,
it's not that it's not about burning yourself out or something. It's not about not being able to detach yourself from work, but it's being able to feel that you're motivated enough to go
mm,
through the
mm,
challenges and even again to take more risks. Of course, there are some points because everything is a phase in life. There is nothing that stays as the same. There is nothing that is okay today, and it will be exactly okay the same way in 2 weeks' time. But
mm,
if you accept that, as long there will be a phase where you need more stability, and I'm sure when it comes to my time, that time for me, I will search for something that will give exactly that base that I need.
mm.
But until then, yeah, I think waking up and thinking that I have something related to light to do,
Yeah,
or even too much related to light and to
yeah,
do during the day, that's already
yeah.
enough for me.
Now, the future is changing quite a lot with all artificial intelligence and social media taking such a big part of what we do in daily life. How do you see the future for yourself?
So for me, it will be all about aesthetics. The beauty movement for me was a revelation, something that I was not expecting
Mm,
myself. It's started off because when I first started my research, which is a beautiful light, I used beauty as a mouse rat, for let's say a
mm,
lab
yeah,
rat, for
yeah,
the fascination. I need something that could
mm,
help me proving that you could have a fascination experience indoor. uh, so I started to ask about beauty to people. So where do they see beauty? The
yeah,
answers I collect, which were over 200 in 10 different countries, were so impactful to me that I started to wonder myself. I have something in my hands in here that is bigger than I thought, and now I have to
yeah,
use it.
yeah,
Not just their answer, but the effect of their answer on the people answering. It was crazy. All the
yeah,
volunteers, every time they were talking about beauty, and every time they were experienced, they wanted the thing that they chosen as beauty emblem for them. It was revelatory, and
mm,
so I started to dig. I started to talk to people that were already working in that direction. And the power of the aesthetic experience, realizing that beauty is a verb, is an active verb, and we are able to generate beauty by the act of searching for it.
Yeah.
That was quite striking to me, and that changed the whole approach to me to work and to lighting. So
Hmm.
my future, I could see that light will be my way to produce even more aesthetic experience and to be able to offer more aesthetic experience and to open it up to make uh, like to expand the taste of people.
Yeah.
Because if we believe that light is the most powerful nudge we have, because it's the most permeable of the like outside world means,
Yeah. Yeah.
then that's definitely something that could convey a higher number of aesthetic experience also to the people that are not used to, they're not exposed, so don't have access to.
So when, let's say, we move many many years further back, further ahead in the future, if you look back of what you hope to achieve, what do you think your legacy could be as Martina Frattura, lighting designer of beautiful light?
Wow, it's amazing. uh, I hope that people will realize the power that each of us
Hmm.
have. Light helps revealing that. Because again, it helps us being more than one thing.
Hmm.
Sometimes we label it ourselves too much because we need to have something quick to introduce ourselves to the others.
Yeah.
This for opportunity, for instance, that you're giving to me, that's not very often granted, and
Hmm.
it's very special. And once again, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need instead a quick version, a quick answer. And the quick answer is like, okay, Martina, I'm a lighting designer. Full
Yeah.
stop. People
Yeah.
don't ask you about that. So they just maybe, wondering slightly a couple of questions extra, and that's it.
Hmm.
So what I believe it is, through light and beauty, I believe I want to encourage people to foster themselves, their own powers, to go out of the, I wouldn't say cage because I know it's a bad word to use, but on the barrier, out of the barrier we usually create for ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh, Barrier there, like again, we might not have the deadline of lighting, temporary light art installation, but we usually put ourselves deadline or very much under stress in a not normal general like working time of the day because we need to do such a huge amount of lists and so many things to take out. I believe I would like that to be a legacy, to be able to feel whatever, like to express yourself in more ways, to
Hmm.
be able to go beyond what was the best version of yourself yesterday, to go and search for that again, or to search a different version of that. And light is the treasure for that. It helps you to express in so many ways, and it helps you reflect of the fact that you are not just one thing. You are not just what other people believe you are, or what you believe of yourself, because you prefer that. You think it's easier
Yeah.
to make other people digest it.
Now I can say I look forward to what you're going to bring to our lighting industry in the future. Now, I normally end up this interview with a rhetorical question in which I'm asking you to share or ask me. You can ask the question to me, and at the same time, when this is posted also to the community, the lighting community in general, is there something on your mind that you would like to ask the community, or something that you would like to clarify, or that's on your mind in terms of what other people think about it? Do you have a question for me and the community?
Well, that's been my question actually for the last 4 years now, if not five already, which is very apparently simple, but it's quite hard to answer usually. Where do you see the beauty?
For
And it
lighting?
doesn't have to be a memory word. And well, it's very easy for us to spotlight.
Mm.
But my question is, where do you see the place you are? And to keep
Right.
this exercise, every time you can stop yourself for a moment, look around
Yeah.
and tell me, where do you spot the beauty?
Yeah. What interesting for me is that I have lived through a lot of technology revolutions. When I started in the late 70s, we had basically a fluorescent tube and an incandescent light, right? And I went through the whole development all the way till today, via fiber optics, but today the compact fluorescent and today now the LED technology, and we're still far from the end of it. So lighting in the lighting industry, I think we have been blessed about this continuous lighting technology development, which every time brings us something new to work with, new tools. But the interesting part is that besides the let's say the hardware, what we find now is the software, is the controls. Maybe we can add in now artificial intelligence, everything that is smart. And I think it needs a total adaptation from the lighting designer that we used to know over the last years, way back to when the first lighting designers were sort of developed, created, to what lighting designers will be in the future. I think you will need so many different skill sets that it will be very hard to be complete. I think, if I don't know if that's the right word, but even now at my age, I'm struggling to comprehend everything that's happening in our industry. Not only technology wise, but also software wise. We're now talking about ChatGPT and all these artificial things, and digital twins and the metaverse, and where are we going? I think there will probably be a world where you can live in a virtual world and you can live in the real world, and both will have lighting in some way, right? Because even, of course, not if you're blind, but as long as we can see, even on a computer screen or with your 3D goggles on, light still shows you where you are and what your environment is. So there will still be a role, I think, for lighting designers in some form to contribute to our world. And in the end, our task is to make our world a better place to be, right? Whether it's physical, whether it's mental health, etc. All is related to lighting, and I think we all know how circadian lighting helps with our help, and some of the other researches that you have been doing as well. So I don't know where we are going. The only thing that I do see is that it's changing continuously. We need to learn. We never stop learning. It's a journey, and I don't know where it's going, but I do like the fact that in our industry there's so many different ways. It's like an adventure. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's how I see it.
Absolutely. I believe that this technology revolution that we are witnessing here, it's led by people that want this technology be at the ease and the use of the people.
Mm.
Because I personally believe that everything we've been having so far was to create distance from the users and the technology. But
Yeah,
that never been the purpose of the tech, to be honest.
yeah,
And now, with everything with artificial intelligence, we are closing slightly the gap. We will be able, very likely soon, to be using all the technology to our service. So being able to be already informed at the very basic level, but in order to go and grab everything we need to, I don't know, to create an app for ourselves that could help us during the day, because we have to maybe face something
mm,
that we were not expected to, or because we decided to grow like a garden, a back garden, and we're like, I think I will need something that helps me with watering, and then you create something for yourself right away. I think
yeah.
that's the direction that we're having in, and there are
I
brilliant people that are working in that direction.
I think so. I think you are right to one extent, but what I was trying to say is that my worry is that we may not be able to keep in control of the changes. because there's so many things happening. Said yes, we want to be in control, but if it comes from so many directions, and with artificial intelligence developing things that have a mind of their own, are we still able to control? We should be. I think we should be able to control. But I think that's the big question. But I do agree with you that yes, it should narrow the gap. But we have to really manage our expectations on how that's going to go, and make sure that we somehow have some influence on how that gap is closed. Martina, thank you so much for this lovely discussion and interview. I hope to meet you soon somewhere on this planet. Thank you again, and thank you for participating in the Lighting Hero series.
Thank you for having me here. This was so nice, and absolutely, we will have to see each other very soon. For sure, will happen. And thank you once again. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Virtual Lighting Design Community Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Martina Frattura, a true lighting hero in the industry. If you enjoyed the show, why not subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends or peers. Subscribing and reviewing the podcast helps to support the team and ensures that more inspiring interviews and valuable content can be shared with the lighting design community. Your feedback and support are greatly appreciated as the virtual lighting design community continues to grow and thrive. And lastly, we invite all lighting enthusiasts to join our vibrant online community at www.vld.community. Connect with like-minded individuals, share your passion for lighting, and stay updated with the latest trends and discussions in the industry. Together, let's continue to foster a thriving lighting design community. Thank you for being part of it.